Good evening, SDASA. Thank you very much for tuning in and welcome to the last segment of the Boleswa 2020 Mid-Year SDASA. All the way from Botswana, my name is Buaho Mukomanu, and we've had the great pleasure of hosting the Boleswa Mid-Year SDASA conference amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We're very grateful and very excited that we finally come to the end of this program. Thank you very much to TOC for setting the bar really, really high last week. We're looking forward to seeing KZN and looking forward to seeing the Cape Conference setting the bar higher and heating up the festivities. On today's segment, which is the last segment, we've got with us Mr. Pako Moshaga.
Yes.
Yes. Pako Moshaga is a personal branding guru. He's based here in Botswana. He works for one of the big banks. He's a financial banking sector professional. I'm not going to go into detail as to where he works or whatever, because today his presentation is going to be very different from what he does to put bread on the table. We're going to be talking about personal branding in the workplace. Pako is a father of 2 and a husband of 1. Pako, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure.
I've explained to you what SDASA is and what we aim to do, and in the programs that we've had in the last 2 days, we've gone on to even talk about our new strategy. And this program is really important because it's the first of many programs that we're going to do as Botswana chapter that are aligned to the new strategy, especially looking at the students, the professionals, and even the business people. So my first question to you, Pako, would be, what is a personal brand?
I think thanks for having me on the show. So much appreciated. So personal branding, I like to think of it as the art of how to package and profile yourself. It's how you define yourself as a person. It's similar to marketing, except that in this case, you are the product. Mm-hmm. So you want to be known for what you are good at. Mm-hmm. Because all products are basically marketed because of what they do exceptionally well. So a personal brand is exactly the same thing, except that it's looking at you as a person and what you are able to offer to the world. Mm-hmm. So it's you saying, I want to be known for X because I am good at X.
Okay. Yeah. So in essence, we are all for sale.
Basically, yeah, we're all for sale, except that we are selling ourselves in a legal way, of course.
In it. All right then. And how important is it for one to understand their personal brand or to define their personal brand?
It's important because we all have brands, basically. Just that often we are not in control of those brands. Mm-hmm. Because our brands are how the people around us see us, how they define us, how they describe us. So it can be positive or negative. So it's important that we decide that I want to be known for this thing. Mm-hmm. So that people know you for a certain thing, a positive thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how does one get to the point of deciding that, okay, this is brand Pako or this is brand Buaho, and these are the characteristics that I want my brand to be associated with? What would be the first step to getting to that?
Okay, so the first step is value. Every brand has value linked to it, basically. So you need to first identify what is your unique value. And your value is your talent, is your skill, it's your strength. Mm-hmm. So based on that, you then build a brand around that value. Mm-hmm. For me, it's writing, it's public speaking as well. So I decided to build my brand around public speaking because that's what I do, that's what I am good at. Mm-hmm. So you start with the value, and then you build the different sides of the value. Public speaking means being out in public a lot. So therefore, presentation counts. I have to work on presentation. It involves interacting with people a lot. So I have to work on my character, on my speech, on my persona, and basically on my values as a person. How do I relate with others? So from the value you build the different facets to the brand.
Okay. And looking at, let's say, students in tertiary institutions and new entrants into the work world, how soon should I start working on my brand?
I'd say as soon as you are in school. For me, as I started quite late, and looking back, I could have started earlier, because the earlier you start, the more set and the more fixed and the more, I'd say, well-known you are for that talent or that skill. So if you are fortunate enough to know your talent and your skill while in school, then by all means start while in school. Work on it, practice, and ensure that ultimately the brand that you build is built on what you are extremely good at. So the sooner you start, the better it is, because you are able to, I say, to discover yourself more and more as you progress. You know, you are able to grow in your area and in that skill, and as a person and as a brand, you are able to, I say, to train yourself in a sense to improve from one level to the next.
So the key really is to start the self-exploration as soon as possible, so that you're able to identify your strengths and your weaknesses, because you don't want to waste too much time working on your weaknesses when you've got strengths that you could improve on. I think for me, what I struggled with is identifying or admitting that my public speaking was an actual talent, because I really thought anybody could do it,
yeah.
you know. And for me, same as you, it came quite late in my life, and it was because of feedback from what the people around me said. So in light of that, do you think that our environment contributes a lot to the brands that we eventually start to build?
I'd say it contributes a lot to it. I'll take myself as an example, right? So I grew up quite shy, and so all I heard around me as a child was that he's shy, you know, at home, at school, etc., etc. And so I never tried out public speaking until about 2 years back, when I was asked to do a talk. You know, at first I was like, no, it's not really my thing. But then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to try it and see how it goes. You know, so it went well, and that's when I discovered that I had this talent all along, but because of how I was raised, or rather because of the feedback that I got as a child, I never tried it out, and therefore I was in a cage, in a sense, throughout childhood, throughout your primary school, junior school, high school, all the way up to varsity. So I'd say the environment counts for a whole lot in terms of the teachers, the parents, older siblings, anyone around you that talks into your life basically counts for a whole lot.
Yeah. I really appreciate that, because growing up I was told that I talk too much. So you know, I'm too forward, and then at some point I realized that every time I'm forward, every time I make a hopapa mood, every time I speak out, it benefits me more than when I keep quiet. So I decided, I think this works for me and it gets me where I want to go. So, you know, maybe I'll just remain a very talkative, very upfront, very opinionated person. Now, let's move to the workspace.
Yeah.
And talk about building brands in the workplace. We all know that in the office, everybody's known for something. So let's say this is my first job. And I've seen your articles on the newspapers. I've seen your articles on LinkedIn. You're doing really well on LinkedIn, by the way.
Thank you.
I've seen your articles on Facebook. I have you on WhatsApp, so I get to, learn from your WhatsApp statuses. So this is my first job. This is maybe my internship. What do I need to be cognizant of about the brand I want to build professionally, or what I want to be known for? What are those key elements?
Okay, so I'd say first is to understand the parts of a brand, right? The first part is image, presentation. People look and they judge. We see and we judge, right? So image counts for a whole lot. So the first thing is to be, I'd say, consistent with how you dress and how you look, and to decide how do you want to be seen in the office, as an intern or as an employee. So you need to dress the way that you want to be seen. So presentation is like packaging. Like I said, personal branding is marketing. Presentation is the package. The clothing is the package that houses the value that the brand offers. That's why I'm wearing a suit today. I could have worn a t-shirt, could have worn jeans, could have worn so many outfits, but because there's a brand that I have and that I need to maintain, I'm dressed the way that I'm dressed. So image is the first thing. The second thing is character. A brand is partly built on character. People, those together are how I say the world defines us and describes us. So those are the elements that one needs to look out for, and they need to decide that I want to be seen as this type of person, therefore I need to dress this way, I need to talk this way, and to carry myself this way in meetings, in the office. Generally, you need to carry yourself a certain way because there is a brand that you want to give out to the world around you.
Even at Christmas parties.
Especially at Christmas parties.
especially at Christmas parties. Okay then. And what about the work, your output?
Yeah, that's another thing. So your output talks to the value. I agree to call the first thing about a brand is the value. So all of these things, image, character, talk, and all, they are backed by value. So your output is the value that you offer. So your output needs to be consistent and excellent, especially as a Christian. Excellence is a core part of being a Christian. Someone needs to say there's something about your work that just is on another level, because as a Christian you need to be different from those around you who are not Christians, and that needs to be seen in your work. Whatever you do as if you do unto the Lord. So your work needs to excel above everyone else's.
I've heard very disappointing comments about working with Seventh-day Adventists. Like, people always say, I don't want to work with a Seventh-day Adventist. They are the meanest at work, and they are this and they are this. And I find that it's a misrepresentation of what we believe in as a church. And I'd like to believe there are those people who actually are very ethical in the way they do their businesses, in the way they study, in the way that they work. And I think I've only worked with one Adventist. I'm currently working with one, and I mean, I haven't had those experiences, And do you think... So I think that Christianity walks on 2 feet. It's not about your profession of believing that you are Christian. It's always about the way you carry yourself, which then communicates to your immediate environment at the office the kind of person that they are. As a fellow Christian, you're a Christian. What are the key traces, what are the key signs of a Christian in the workplace? Like you go into a workspace and you get service and you get this and you get that. What do you think are the key elements of a true Christian within the workspace?
I'd say, imagine this. If Jesus worked in an office, he would still be outstanding because of his nature, right? So the nature of a Christian is essentially to be like Christ. So if we look at Christ, primarily, he was, or he is rather, loving. So loving means being kind to others, being gracious to others, showing care towards others, and showing respect towards others.
Yeah.
So the first thing is your values need to show. People shouldn't even have to ask if you're a Christian. They should just see from the way that you act, from the way that you talk. You talk with love and with grace, and you serve others with the same love. So what you say and what you do is aligned, and is aligned to the character of Christ. That's the first thing, character and speech. And then output, again, excellence, as we mentioned earlier, or needs to be seen in your work.
Yeah.
Your work should be outstanding because you are made in the image of God, and God is a God of excellence. So what you do should be excellent all the time, consistently.
Yeah.
Having a brand is about being consistent.
Yeah.
Because it's marketing again, and marketing is consistent. Coke ads are always the same. You know, BMW ads are always the same. It's about power and speed. So same thing with you. You need to be the same person throughout.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jesus was a high performer. He died on the job. He died
literally
for the cause. He was for me, I think that's the ultimate target for a high performing individual.
Yeah.
The standard is really high.
Exactly.
So Pako, we work in a secular world. You know, we can't avoid that. And even at school, we go to secular institutions, and people always say, nice guys finish last. And a Christian is a nice person.
True.
Do you think that Christians can advance even to the highest offices if they keep those values?
Yes. Simply put, they can. We do live in a secular world, and some things are unfair, but I believe in being true to who you are at the end of the day. Despite the circumstances, your character needs to stay the same. If we look at the Bible, Jesus was the same, despite him knowing that, let's say, Judas was going to betray him. There's nothing in the scripture that says that he was harsh towards Judas, or he treated or he treated him unfairly in any way. So we also need to be the same way, consistent in our values and in our output, and believe and have patience, and of course, and pray, of course.
Yeah.
Again, that ultimately things will work in our favor. We just need to be true to who we are, and ultimately we will see success on that basis. Yeah.
So, I mean, the most important element for me as a Christian who's a professional is always excellence. There is no excuse for not being excellent. And I dare say that if a Christian does a shady job, it's an insult to God, to the God that they serve, because God does everything to the highest level. I mean, he created and then he said, it is good.
Yeah.
You could take an example of nature and you could see that God pays attention. He's a very detailed God. He loves order. He loves beautiful things, and beautiful things and great things don't come easily. So I think for me, a Christian must always strive to attain excellence. A Christian must be very ethical in the way that they conduct their business. And a Christian must be in harmony with their environment.
Yes.
You know, when a Christian walks into the office, people shouldn't run under the tables, and people shouldn't feel judged around you. People should feel accepted. People should feel like they can make mistakes and you will be able to assist them to rectify those mistakes. So I think in our workplaces, in our businesses, and even at school, the bar must always be to be the head and not the tail, and put in the work.
100%, yeah.
All right.
That's it.
All right. I think this has been very insightful. We should continue to talk about it. We're going to take a short little break. We'll come back, and when we come back, I want us to talk about social media.
Okay.
Because in today's world, you cannot avoid social media. It's
true.
become a daily staple.
Yeah.
The pros and the cons of social media on our professional advancement.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
See you after the break. Please go get some water, get relaxed, send the link to a friend because things are about to get a little bit more interesting. Thank you. Welcome back to the second segment of the show. We're still with Pako. We've talked a lot about personal branding in the workplace, personal branding as a business person, and even as a student. So now we want to veer off a little and talk about personal branding on social media. You cannot avoid talking about social media if you want to talk about personal branding, because we use social media a lot as a generator of our presence in the community. So we're just going to talk about the pros and cons of social media, and we're taking a particular focus in using social media to grow your professional brand.
All right.
Okay, so during COVID-19, we saw a lot of social media activity because we were all home and all we could do was be glued to our screens just to keep in contact with what everybody else is doing. Schools are now online, adverts are now on social media. You know, social media is how we live, and I dare say that social media is our social CV. It's a CV of some sort. I know I've applied for a job in one of the parastatals in our country, and I saw they checked out my LinkedIn profile and I think my Facebook profile, and I instantly went through both my profiles just to check through if I've been behaving. So you're very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You're actually my inspiration behind getting very active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You are on Facebook as well, on Instagram,
Yes.
Twitter.
Twitter, not so much.
Not so much on
Yeah.
Twitter. Okay. You don't want them to drag you.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. Yeah.
I actually quit Twitter on my final year of university.
Okay.
And I deleted it off my phone because I enjoyed it too much. And I said, you're going to have to pick between enjoying the Twitter streets and a graduation
100%. Yeah.
gown. Yeah, so I decided, okay, let me just, I need to quit this thing because I need to finish school. I'd go to the library with intentions to study.
Yeah.
And after 3 hours,
No studying done.
I've been on the streets. You know, so that's why I let it go. And sometimes I delete the apps. just so that I can focus on something.
Yeah.
Very early this year, I deleted Instagram and downloaded LinkedIn so that I do more updates on.
LinkedIn.
No, I think I deleted Facebook. I had to come back to Facebook because I'm now PRO SDASA, so I have to be very active. I've got another NGO that I'm running, so I need to be active on Facebook. So, Pako,
Yeah.
how can I use social media to improve my professional brand, my business brand?
Okay. I guess let's start LinkedIn. Okay. So LinkedIn is a professional site. That's the first thing that we need to establish. It's not a social site, it's a professional site. So the first thing is your brand on LinkedIn needs to be professional. Profile picture.
It's like a CV.
Yeah, it's exactly like a CV.
Okay.
Because you put in your education, work experience, your skills, awards, projects, etc., etc. So it's a digital CV, in a sense. Yeah, it's an online CV. So the profile picture is the first interaction that people have with you. So, like I said earlier on, people look and they judge. So you want to give them something good to look at, something clean, corporate, and professional. So your profile picture needs to be a proper professional picture.
Not a selfie.
Not a selfie, not you on the lawn, not you at a party, not you with your friends.
Or with your husband.
Or your husband, you know. So it needs to be you alone, dressed in formal attire. It needs to be a clear picture, professional and clean. That's
black and white, color.
Color.
Okay.
Color picture. Shouldn't be black and white.
Okay.
Because people need to see you.
Okay, I made a mistake there, but okay.
We all did. So that's one thing. I get a picture. The second thing is to fill out your profile. Degree, master's, a diploma, whatever it is, you need to fill out all the details. Languages that you speak, skills that you have, everything needs to be on there.
Okay.
Then after that, you need to learn how to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is used for networking with professionals. So you either extend your hand to someone, or someone extends their hand to you. Yeah. So people will get in touch with you if they see that you have something to offer. They will get in touch with you for a job or an opportunity to write for a paper or to speak at an event. So many things. But you need to put your best foot forward. So your profile, as said. Next thing is the content. What do you post on LinkedIn? First of all, you need to be posting for you to be noticed. People often join LinkedIn, connect with others, then they just never post anything.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible for you to be discovered if you never post anything.
It's like having an Instagram account with 0 pictures.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. So you need to be on there and you need to be posting content. You need to be active, sharing posts. And you need to decide what content you want to put out. Again, what brand do you want to have on LinkedIn? There are people that are known for being experts in economics. Everything they post, it's an analysis of some sector or a trend or something. But it's always to do with economics and analysis and risks. So my brand is about personal branding. So almost everything that I put up on LinkedIn is about personal branding. It's about image, etiquette, and issues in the office around branding. So you need to decide what you want to be known for. And ideally, that's what you are in the business of, or that's your career line.
So LinkedIn is like it's a pitch.
Yeah, it's a pitch.
You're making, every time you make a post on LinkedIn, it's an elevator conversation.
Yeah.
The 3 minutes or the little nugget or the,
There you go.
it just makes sure, just to make sure that you grab the attention of the necessary people within your space of work. Okay.
That's it, 100%. So your pitch can either be a win or a flop.
Okay.
So every time you post, it's a chance for you to showcase your value, your experience, your intellect.
Okay.
Whatever it is that you can offer, it's a chance for you to showcase that thing that you can offer to the world.
I always feel like LinkedIn is so uptight.
It's very uptight. It's extremely uptight. So you need to be careful with your typos, with your grammar, and with your etiquette as well. Because it's a setup that is meant for the office. So just as you would ensure that any email that you put out is proper, it's correct, and it's kind and neat and everything.
Speaking of etiquette, it's for the past few weeks I've been getting connection requests. That's really great. And then you get random gentlemen sending you hi messages. Can we do lunch? And I actually had to speak to one of them and say, this is a professional networking platform. You cannot be asking me to go out for drinks with you on LinkedIn because we're very serious here. I mean, I don't have a problem with getting that from Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but on LinkedIn, when you get a message or an inbox, expectation is that somebody's inviting you for a webinar, somebody maybe wants you to do an interview and whatever.
True.
And I think people confuse the different social media platforms. For me, I found it very offensive that somebody was doing that on such a platform because, we're on LinkedIn because we want to build our professional profiles.
Yeah.
So let's go to Facebook. How do you use Facebook to grow your brand?
So for me, I started doing public speaking 2 years back. So before that, I really didn't have a brand per se. So I decided I want to be known as a public speaker. So every picture that I put up was of me giving a talk. So I rarely put up anything social.
I haven't seen anything social on your Facebook.
Exactly. So I decided that, I want to have a certain image, which means that I have to sacrifice my social life on Facebook anyway, so that I can put up stuff aligned to my goals and to my brand. So for months, I just put up pictures of me on stage every time until people ultimately had an understanding and an appreciation that Pako is about public speaking. Pako is always on stage. Pako is a public speaker. Until now, it's been about 2 years now. So now I'm known as a public speaker because I branded myself over time as a public speaker. Yes, so I marketed myself essentially as someone who's able to do public speaking until people accepted me as a speaker. Yeah.
And I think the advantage of Facebook is the numbers. The numbers on Facebook are huge. There's a very big opportunity for you to get the numbers on Facebook than on the other social media platforms.
Yeah.
What I've seen with Facebook is that we get very carried away because it's such a lax and very social and fun network. And I think for me, it's important for people to see the lighter side of you.
Yeah.
How light can we go?
We can go light. I also joke around on Facebook as well. But my jokes, I always make sure that I'm not offending anyone with my joke. I'm not being racist. I'm not being tribalistic. Are you
apolitical on Facebook?
Very.
Okay.
Very. So I always make sure that what I say might be funny, but it is neutral because I have a brand to protect. So the moment I post anything negative, it impacts my brand because I'm the face of the business. My name and my face are attached to the business that I'm running. So I need to make sure that what I put up, whether it's a joke or a picture, or I share a post by someone else, I have to ensure that it's aligned to my values. Every brand has a set of values. And my values are around being fair, being kind, and loving to everyone. As a Christian,
Yeah.
you know, my values are obviously based on the Word of God, and the Word obviously talks about offense and hate and all these other things which we should stay away from. Yeah.
Wow, that's really powerful. And as the youth, we need to be very careful about the kind of messaging that we bring out through our social media platforms. What would you say to somebody who wants to recreate their brand on social media, let's say Twitter, Facebook, and in Instagram, for example, somebody who's always been very light and joking about anything and everything? Should they delete the account, start another one, or just use the one that they have and use the numbers that they currently have and then work from there like you did?
Yeah, so what I did, I used my existing profile. I just decided that, okay, going forward, I'll post this type of content, you know. Of course, you can go back and delete old pictures and the likes, you know. That certainly helps, because people can at times decide to go into your
the
past.
archives, like they did with Kevin Hart.
Exactly, and they bring that to the current.
Yeah.
I mean, with Kevin, that tweet was from, I think, 2011.
Yeah.
And this thing happened last year. So that's what, 7 years apart, you know. So it's advised to do that, yes. It is in your best interests. So the main thing is to decide what you're going to post going forward. Every brand has a message and has values. What message do you want to put out? What values are you living by? And those will essentially guard whatever you put up needs to be aligned to your message and to your values, and therefore everything that you put out there will be fairly safe, you know, and good for your brand.
And what about the detail that we go into in exposing our personal lives? Like, I think most of us know that you're married with children, but I don't think I've never seen your children's faces on your social media, especially your Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm not sure about Instagram. How we need to be very careful in exposing ourselves so much in social media. What would your advice to be to a young person about exposure on social media, especially if you're not looking into being a brand influencer or whatever? I mean, brand influencers are also very personal, but their home life and stuff. I mean, they show you the things that you want to see, but you never really know their home address. You never know who they're dating. Some of them you don't know who they're married to. I mean, what advice would you give a young person about sharing personal information on social media?
I'd say you need to understand that people will want to be a part of your life during the good times and the bad times. So if you share, let's say, your kids and your spouse, you know, or your partner during good times, when things go bad, you can't now suddenly
because we want to see the continuation.
Exactly. So what most people do is that when things go bad, they now want to be private now, you know, and want the world to basically keep out of their lives, you know. But unfortunately, once you open a door, it's open.
It's open.
So you need to decide: are you willing to share your life with the rest of the world during good times and bad times? Because once they come in, they are in to stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about recruiters? When a recruiter goes into my social media profiles, what are they looking for, and what would probably set them off?
Okay, so the first thing that they're looking for is your character. What type of person are you? On CV, on paper, you might be good, technically qualified and everything looks good, but what's your character like? So they'll look for your character and to see if you are a fit with their culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fit with that culture. That's very important. I mean, as a strategy consultant, I know how important culture is in an organization, and it's a big struggle for a lot of corporates to merge or convince their employees that this is the culture that we want, and these are the values that you need to be able to live within this community of this corporation or this organization. So they're looking at your values, and your values, we see them in what you joke about, in what you do during the weekend, in how you address people,
100%.
in how you take in criticism, because social media can be very critical of you. So they're really looking at your real character, because it's not the certificate and the qualifications that get the job done. It's the character.
Yeah.
All right. Pako, thank you so much for joining us. I want you in a few seconds to just to the audience that is tuning in today, just a few words of advice on personal branding.
Okay. So I'd say we all need to have a personal brand. We all have a brand, so we need to decide the type of brand that we want to have, right? You need to make a decision as a student, as a career person, as a business person. Your brand brings you opportunities in line with your values. I'm a speaker. I get opportunities to speak because I've branded myself as a public speaker. I get to be on TV, on radio, in the papers, in magazines, because I have a brand around public speaking. So the value of a brand, of all this effort, is to get opportunities in line with your skills and your talents. So as a business person, as a student, as a career person, there are opportunities out there for you, and those will come to you easier if you have a position and a brand that can bring them to you, essentially, by you having yourself out there, marketing yourself, and ultimately someone will see that and you will get something because of all of that effort.
Thank you so much, Pako.
Thanks, Pako.
Re itumetse thata, re boeletsa matsogo le matlhogonolo.
Thank you, Mela.
And we hope that the viewers at home have been able to pick some lessons from our discussion today. We've come to the end of our discussion on personal branding, and I think for me this has been a very, very important discussion. We need to be able to live out our values. We can't always teach our values, but we can walk our values and we can live our values. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you have a great week, a great productive week. See you next week. I'm not quite sure which chapter we'll be presenting, but I am very sure and very certain that the program is going to be everything and a bag of chips. Thank you so much for tuning in.